cut the road to 3 days a week. Don't.
I think you're fine with two, or but if you get into a storm, I think you gotta.
It'll be something we'll have to look at for sure, especially on the higher traffic and school routes and stuff like that. But some of these roads that are dead ending, to nothing, are going to be some of the roads that are going to be left behind.
Okay.
And the mowing, when you were talking about it, I think that's good that it don't get growed up big. It'll be a lot easier to mow and a lot easier on equipment.
Yeah.
We usually do start mowing around Memorial Day, so it's coming up shortly.
Did you get the mower?
They were shipped today.
So they a week, 10 days out.
We were hoping, and he was hoping by the end of the week. But no, mowing's something that has to be done. I mean, it's a safety issue, especially coming up to intersections. You got to keep that stuff mowed.
And that was another thing too with the mowing, and then with the crops being next to the road. I don't know what you guys want to do about that as well. Do we need to mow our right of way, or do we need to just let the crops let it go?
And we did have to call some people last year.
I would say the crop's growing in the right of way.
Some of the corn was growing so tall it was getting to where you couldn't even see the stop signs or yield signs on intersections.
And there was some areas too, like it's like approaching the road, like on the road.
Probably better to call the landowner and tell them we're going to have to mow the right of way down.
And I know last year we tried to do that, and then we actually had a constituent that went out and mowed it himself that was not the landowner, just because he felt like his family was at risk at the intersection. So he didn't mow the whole thing, but he did mow around the intersection and stuff so that people could see if traffic was coming or they could see the proper signs. But like I said, planning and zoning helped us last year to call some of the landowners and say, you're in our right of way. And
Safety concern, for sure.
Well, Mark, in my end of the county, you've reclaimed all those right of ways being planted. How much of that? I mean, are you starting in my corner and moving the other direction, or?
We're going to where we've talked to farmers. Like
Okay.
we've done it on a couple others, and we've gotten some really hateful phone calls back after that. So that's kind of why we just stopped.
Oh, so you stopped.
And we were just going to get this little hearing together to see where we wanted to go with that. So
Isn't it our responsibility?
we have
County? So
we
what
have
happens if you have an accident and we didn't maintain it the way we should?
we have 95% of the roads in Seward County are 60-foot right of ways, 30 feet from center each direction is our right of way. Normally a 15-foot ditch on each side.
I guess you have a list or something, where the ones that flood. Or
Yeah.
Start there. I mean, if it rains one of these days, and probably get after those. Stand water on the road.
There, near the Kisman area, there is a lot of good ditches. Like they're fully developed over there. That has been like that for years and years. A lot of the areas that are more of the concern are around Liberal. There's just no ditching whatsoever, and there's a lot of flood areas.
But we've
Is
done
some of
we've,
that sandy soil is filling back in faster?
Blows out.
yeah, a lot of it blows out. I mean, just from the our conditions that we're in, dry, windy. But I think if you got the ditch established and we got some sort of grass or weeds, something to grow in them, it'll help hold them, easier to maintain. But we just got a lot of negative feedback once we started doing ditch work. People were not happy with it.
I, for one, appreciated the culvert cleanouts you were doing and fixing the drainage at known problem intersections. That one time it actually rained, it made a difference.
Good. Like I said, our current culvert situation, we are running really low on culverts.
Okay.
I wanted to add too, as far as on fuel, I mean, they have helped us in the February 17th fire. They also helped us the evening of the 8 fires that we had from the lightning strikes.
Right.
So I don't, they have some of that, well, they have that fuel cost
Right.
coming out of their budget at this time.
I mean, we're happy to, pay for that until it just comes to a certain point to where we're in the budget to where we have to just spend on our equipment.
So what's kind of the general consensus? 3 days a week? Grading?
Three's not going to cut it. So.
I agree with the 2, but I think though if it rains, you need to get
Right.
over the roads. Whatever it takes.
And we can go with 2 days a week until we start getting moisture, and then we'll like I said, we have 7 blades that run every day. We have a few spares as well. I mean, we can get all the blades out and try to cover the county as quick as we can from any rain that we get. But
Okay, so everybody good with 2 days a week? And how much money do you have to purchase culverts with? 0. That's what I thought you said. Okay, how many do you have in stock?
I'd say maybe 11 or 12 of them left, and those will go fast. And
not all of them are the. I mean, there's certain diameters out there.
Yeah, and
So-
there's certain diameters and certain lengths. Usually, when we do a culvert, we use 2 20-foot sticks together to go across the road, and that's what we've been using. So, I mean, it will go fast.
So if we have 11, then
Yeah, pretty much cut in half.
yeah. So we have enough to do about 5 more culverts.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, that's the situation we're in. A couple back just for emergencies, but
I mean, when we take these old ones out, we're trying to be careful to see if we can't get them out whole, but they're completely full, and those old galvanized, they're
ate up.
just splitting.
Okay, anything else? I mean,
Another thing that I don't have it from, I think I got a quick reminder of it. Foley. Was speaking with Foley Cat, and our diagnostic fees are starting to kill us on clearing codes on these cat machines. He did approach me. They do have their own, it's called an ET Links Citizen Part Service. It's a $1,500 a year subscription and a one-time payment of $1,140. But that allows our road and bridge mechanics to plug into the machines, figure out what the code is, instead of having a cat come down and plug into our machine, which is costing us about $1,000 every time they come down.
And that's just to even reset a simple def code or something, or run a regen.
Like we replace a part and the code doesn't clear, they have to come down and clear that code to make that machine run right. And that's $1,000 right there.
so will that work for landfill and waste haul also?
Are you doing the same thing though? Are you calling the technician to clear the code? Like, could the subscription cover both? Like, is that what you're asking?
The box will plug into any cat machine. I mean, of course, year wise.
You could take it to the landfill and plug it.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
trying
like,
to get at
if-
splitting the cost with the landfill?
If we buy one, why save them money? Why couldn't we use it?
That's
And they have a
sure, don't.
they have a class that I can send one of my mechanics to. Tyler can send one of his mechanics. It's a $700 per person, but they'll train them on how to use it. I mean, it'd save quite a bit of money. I mean,
Is it a contract?
Huh?
Is it a contract?
It's a one-time to buy the cable and the box, the cap box wiring harness is $1140. That's a one-time payment, but it's a $1,500 a year service.
So that would be something the commissioners would need to approve, at least the one time annually.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm wondering why it's even coming before the board. But if it's contract, it has to be. I mean, this is like, anyway.
So with the training, you're talking $4,000 to do this,
Yes.
and that would replace roughly 4 call outs for them to come do it.
Yes. So $1,500 a year, and then the one-time payment of $1140, and then if you want to send them off to get trained, it's another $700.
Do they need the training?
It probably
I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I would say yes.
Okay.
So you're going to pay the $1,500 either. I mean, you're currently paying $1,500, correct?
Yeah, at least $1,000 every time they come out and clear
Right.
code.
But I mean, for the Foley, you're paying them this Foley links $1,500 a year. So you're currently paying that.
No, that's what we would pay a year
That's new.
to
Now
get
they
this.
come out, you're paying $1,000 per time that technician comes out and clears the code per time.
Okay.
Anthony, how many times a year are you calling them out?
I'd say last year at least 15 times.
Why would you not?
We're up to 6 this year.
So it seems like the thing to do and split the cost with landfill on the equipment and let them, train one guy from each place?
And I know Brock was just asking me now too about you thought I had done all this and went to the class years ago. This was approved for me to go to the class, but nothing ever happened upon it. So I don't know. I wasn't in any manager position back then or anything, so I couldn't tell you.
I'll
Started
just
to say as we were going through all of this, I was telling Brock this was approved.
Yeah, this was brought up like
When-
3 years ago.
Bobby was
Yeah.
the road and bridge supervisor, so I assumed it had already been done because we got you the computer already. Correct?
Yeah, the computer was an old hand down from Cindy.
and we have to
Yeah, you have to have your own laptop.
have our own laptop, and it has to be Microsoft Edge V80 or newer.
So I believe they were going to send me to Park City for a 2-day course.
That means nothing to me, but Windows 10.
So we've surely got a laptop floating around that
Yeah.
Okay. So do we need to put it on? It was approved 3 years ago. Do we need to reapprove it?
If they've never done it, if it's a contract, it's a whole new board, I would recommend it be placed
Okay.
on the agenda and approved and probably signed by a commissioner.
Okay, that's all I was asking.
I just can't believe it.
So we can put it, if everybody's okay, we'll put it in the agenda for tonight. We add it to the agenda.
You don't have the agreement, right?
Okay, so we can add it to the agenda when you get the agreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and I was talking to Chris. He's got everything ready to send.
You might check with him too, that if he's just planning on covering the serial numbers in your inventory, or if there would be an extra charge for putting more.
What I was told is this thing would plug into any cat machine
Okay.
that was at least computer based.
Then I'm sure Tyler wouldn't mind sharing some of the cost. But I'll definitely run it by him.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's
I don't have anything else either.
about all I got.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. All right. Okay, so do you guys still have your packets that you were given 2 weeks ago? That's what we're going to use. Okay, good deal. You brought your homework with you. Okay. So the first, I have one, but I got copies that we're going to go through with it to add to it.
Did I get a copy of the packet?
Huh? Yeah.
Like now?
Oh, I have this one. Okay, so the first thing that talk about is the personal property 20 plus years. I did give you guys a little insight on that in there about what kind of went on. There was a approval in 2015 to have 1983 to 1993 removed from the books. During the conversion, they're stating that not all of that was done. And so that's coming up on the books. And then in 2016, there was an approval from the commission that was supposedly done, but I could not find that in the agenda. And I did ask for help, and they could not find that either. So those two things was part of the research that was done.
So there's two. These are two separate items.
It's all one thing. We're going to get into that. So what I'm asking for is the personal property 20 plus years to be wrote off due to the fact that the 2015 was approved and was not a resolution. The software company is not willing to go in and fix any of that. I've sent them the minutes and everything. And so they said in order to fix that error, a resolution has to be wrote up and has to be sent to them in order to fix that, even though it was approved.
Was that done in 2015?
15.
Been the old software in 2015.
It was.
So was it or was it wrote off?
It was wrote off, but when the conversion happened, it came over like it never happened.
So currently, it doesn't state that it was a write-off. It's treating it as an active debt.
Correct.
Okay.
And they can...
When the conversion was done?
No, it was not. And that's what we're working on. And they will not fix it because supposedly what I'm being told is when they go in and did something at a different program and it comes over on a conversion, sometimes the programming does not accept that change in the new program, how it was done. And so it doesn't show that this was done in the new one. We have the data to back up it was done. We've given that to them to proceed forward. But due to the fact that it was not a resolution, they're not willing to fix it.
So how many? Okay.
So
we're going on.
We're going on 3 years on this software
3 years,
company. Yes,
yeah.
and we're still having issues. Their stuff is still coming up from the
This
conversion.
wasn't handled 3 years ago in the initial conversion.
No.
Stacia, are you aware of any? You don't have anything to do with that. But okay, I don't know.
Okay, so we have that for the for the 1983 to 1993, and then I cannot find the 2016 for the approval. And at that point in time, it really doesn't matter if it was an approval because it has to be a resolution in order to fix it. So I am coming in front of you guys with the personal property 20 plus years. One, to fix what was supposed to be fixed in 2015.
So when you say 20 plus years, we're referring to 2006 and prior.
Yes.
Because this, whatever was wrote off in 2015 was 1983 to 1993. Right?
Correct. But it did not come over on the conversion on the new software, so it's showing up.
Did they happen to give you a price for what it would cost to fix it?
They're not going to charge us to fix it. They won't fix it because it was an approval and not a resolution.
Okay.
And that's one reason why. Because in order for it to be done, it had to go to programming, and programming asked for, they had to have, in order for anything to be fixed on the conversion, we have to back it up with documentation. Any of the documentation that we find, we send over to them, and they correspond that documentation with the receipt or whatever they did. Part of that documentation was the minutes and was the approval.
I know in the Register of Deeds office, some of their stuff didn't convert over properly, and it wasn't caught at the time because we had a former Register of Deeds. So Jill paid them out of her tech fund to make the changes. And it was a little over, I think it was a little over $1,000 to do those changes. And it was worth it to her to pay that to have everything corrected. That's the reason why I didn't know. They're saying they won't fix it for you without a cost. I was wondering what.
No, they're not saying they won't fix it without a cost. They won't fix it without a resolution.
Okay.
So do we just need to have a resolution prepared confirming what was approved previously and just have it signed, and then you can get them to
For
make the
those,
correction?
for that 2015. Yes. But they said that if we do the 20 plus write-off, put that whole thing in that resolution, and they'll do that whole write-off on that one program for that one programmer.
I think it should be done in two separate resolutions. One that we had no control over, which is just turning a action item into a resolution. I guess that's what, I'm not sure that CIC's our legal firm too, to require a resolution instead of an action item. But maybe
So
they are.
let me tell you why they told me that they are requiring a resolution. They said that they required on all clients that have any debt that they write off. They said because they cannot just willy-nilly go in there off of someone's approval, that it has to be known in a resolution. So they said anytime that we do any write-offs in the tax side, they require that.
This was done 10 years ago.
I know, but they will not fix the error without that.
Okay. Then I guess we have to do a resolution on that. I just want to make sure it's done.
I agree.
I mean, I'm tired of writing off stuff that no action was done on.
It is frustrating on my part too.
10 more years or 15 more years.
So the personal property that's 20 plus years includes the client debt status change of the deceased from Hollins and McVeigh. The total for that is, I got a new one in for $496. So the total for that is $46,413.67. Now, before we go into that, I do want you to know that I do have, Russell hasn't been here to discuss some of that 20 plus years per statutes, laws and stuff. I also have recommendations from Angela Eichmann, from Dustin Ormiston, and from some of my staff for you guys to go over. Some of that stuff they put in there, what the issue is that we're having on this, and I'm going to give you guys those. And Russell, if you want to come up and talk to them about what you found out.
Thanks so much.
Ready? Gentlemen, in regard to Mary's circumstances, after hearing her talk today, it really sounds like you're fixing things that have already been approved once. But she did talk to me about the authority to do it, and I know we have some newer commissioners and things, and so the problem when she discussed it with me is there's no written rules about doing the write-offs, but there's a history of it without any history of whether it's approved, statutory, how it works. She had some others look at it. She asked me if I could look at it also. I spent a substantial amount of time going through AG opinions, the case law on the matter, and the statutes. There's no place I can find where there's discussions on this exact point. However, we have statutes, and for those of you who would like to look at them, 75-3728 B and C. That's the statute for state agencies. And I think that's significant because while the counties are not provided specific statutes for write-offs of this nature, all the state agencies have a method to write things off and do write-offs. The reason that's important to me is when there's no guidance in regard to what I looked up, the fact that the state already does it and does it for themselves, I think transcends to the counties that you folks can do that too. I think another important area to look at is the home rule statutes, 19-101 and 19-101A. Those statutes talk about the rights and responsibilities of counties, county commissioners in that vein. But the flavor of those statutes is counties are treated like corporations, and corporations have the ability to write off, state agencies have the ability to write off. So in that regard, I think the counties are safe in it. Also, Mary, after I'd researched law, we had further discussions, and she noted that most of this property involves deceased individuals. So pretty obvious to me that those issues are never going to be collected in that sense. I think the only caveat I found where some counties got in trouble with write-off type issues, and it's not specific to this issue, but just so you have the caution if somebody's bringing these write-off issues to you, is if the county writes off a small group of certain types of individuals or businesses, things like that, that are due the county, then there's a lot of lawsuits out there where other members of that group or circumstance comes in and says, wait a minute, why didn't we get our write-offs too? So here you're writing off a total class without picking out any certain people or any certain type situation. So I think you're safe in that regard, and I think it's appropriate. But Mary and I did not discuss in depth. She discussed that this was supposed to have been done before. We did not discuss that the commission's actually approved these things a couple of times. So I think makes it obvious to me that you're within the realm of doing that. But that's just some of the research I found in regard to the circumstance in that regard. Any questions in that regard? Okay, thank you.
I think if you look at the recommendations, you'll see that some of that stuff we don't have any of the documentation to prove while they're on the tax rolls. So things are already they're going to court, they're going in front of the judge is throwing it out because we can't prove that they owned that because of the retention of the records. And I think that is one of the big things going as far back as we've gone for collection. I will say that we did go to collection with the company CBK. And to date, which we started in 2024 with them, so we've been doing with them for a whole year, we have paid them $57,000. And they have collected $232,000. That is to date. That is as of March 31st. So I do want you guys to realize that CBK is doing a good job as far as collecting. The problem that we have is going past 2006 and earlier to plea our case.
So the total amount they collected is $250,000.
232,000.
230,000. How much did you send to them? What's the total dollar amount, including?
$57,045.90.
How much?
$57,045.90.
And they've collected
$232,957.32.
What's the total amount you've turned to them for collection?
we gave them $57,000.
Mary, I think he's talking about how much did the personal property total that you sent to them to try and collect, not what you've
Oh,
them as their.
I don't have that number. It was
And does that 252,000 or 232,000? Does that include oil and gas too?
yeah, it is all personal property. Personal property is oil and gas,
Okay.
and anything else. So it's all personal property that they received. Now, that was of March 31st. We will be getting a check from them and a bill from them for April. For they're like a month behind, right? They close their books at March 31st. I don't have that data, but it will be coming in the mail.
But you don't know how much you have turned to them for them to attempt to collect.
Well, not off the top of my head, but there was a spreadsheet that was sent to the commissioners that had all those years with the total at the bottom. So there was an email sent out. We can resend that email out with the total that was sent. But remember what years we sent to them. We sent them, I believe, clear to 2000.
So a significant portion of that is uncollectible because there's no record to support the claim.
And they sent in your packet those sheets that have the deceased.
Right.
That's what they're sending over, saying we cannot collect that. We will not collect that. We've wrote that off our books uncollectible. So a lot of that is in those sheets there with the deceased.
What is client requested to terminate? Does that mean that they chose to?
So that's if somebody filed bankruptcy. That's if somebody, if they showed that like they had a divorce and the other person was supposed to receive that debt. That's what that means. There's several things that they do to make sure that that person is the actual person that is supposed to be responsible for that. We have come across some where there are divorces. That person was supposed to receive, let's say, the mobile home, but the other person is still on the book, so they have to go in and we have to fix that. We do go in and fix it, but there's several reasons why they are saying that that person's not due for debt. They are very detailed when they go in for debt. This is a collection company. This is what they do for a profession. They are very due diligence. Whenever they receive the debt, they do a name trace, which finds the person, their current address, finds the driver's license, finds a social security number. You know, they put money into it to try to find the debt. So a lot of the people that they have found are out of state, and you know, maybe they were in the Army and they moved from place to place to place, and they still were to track them down, and we still have been able to collect on some of those. We have collected on some, but I'm saying that company that was hired to do this, I feel, is doing a very good job as far as tracking and being able to send out those debts. Also on collection.
So I know in oil and gas, there was like 3 particular instances that totaled around $2 million. Just three accounts. So how are they coming on those?
So I will tell you that those specific counts are going to court, and they're doing garnishment on their checking accounts and on their assets.
Because the one you and I never agreed that the interest got transferred from CIC correctly and calculated.
I thought we had done that a couple months ago.
So
that particular one that you're talking about, they have went forward through the district court to do garnishment.
I mean, we have this, I understand we have the low-hanging fruit, but we have 3 customers that are the majority of that.
No, there's little bits from the time that is on here. I didn't put the ones that they're actively working on now, like from 2007 on. Those are the cases that they're working on, and those are the ones that you're talking about with that specific entity.
Okay.
So I did attach how other counties have done resolutions just for your reference, so you can kind of see that, since we are going to have to do that resolution for the 2015. Just to kind of give you some examples, it does talk about warrants being dormant. I did have a discussion, figured out what that meant. Whenever personal property is at the year, we send it over to sheriff, it goes to warrant, and then it goes to district court. When they pay that personal property, we remove that warrant. It is I was told it was the county attorneys that was supposed to make sure that those warrants didn't stay dormant. And I can confirm that those warrants are dormant. The only way that they're not being dormant is if the collection company piggybacks off of those warrants. And that is on some of the discussion that is in some of those resolutions for that. And also some of that money that is in number 1 is that client status debt change, which has those deceased. So I do want you guys to realize that some of that is in there. So any more questions on that? Okay, so I want to go to number 3, which is the escrow. Escrow was a program that was used by the county treasurer to make payments on. You had to set up a payment plan. You had to make payments. You paid every time you made that payment. Whenever I took office in 2023, prior to I think in 2020, 2020, about when COVID hit, escrow was shut down in the treasurer's office, primarily because we had some people who were consistent at making their payments and some people who just said, yeah, I'm going to make payments, and they didn't make payments. The ultimate goal for escrow was to make the payment, and then when it came time for their taxes to pay, we moved that money over there. Whenever we went to the new software in 2023, the good thing is that we were able to take partial payments. Partial payments is a benefit to the taxpayer for real estate only, because on that, they're not getting charged that $20 setup fee, that $10 fee for every time they make the payment. And it's there no matter what. It automatically attaches to that parcel. So we do take partial payments. We did away with escrow. Escrow was a huge undertaking. I had been talking with the auditors since 2023. They'd wanted us to clean up the books in 2024. Unfortunately, we decided that there was a lot more put on the plate for the county treasurer. We did this tax sales. We added the new software system. We added the new computer system, the new telephone system. There was a big turnover in the office. I had just come in as county treasurer. So there was a lot of moving parts in 2023, 2024. And then we went to collections. So we had been working with that. None of the data was transferred over from the old system to the new system. And so I had to work with Thomson Reuters, which was the old system, AS400. Those that have been in that system before, the name that I say they're going to recognize, which is Kevin Juniman. He was the initial programmer for that company. He and I worked hand in hand in this. Really, I would run report, I'd have to go back and do line item, talking with our auditor back and forth, what was the process I needed to do. So this isn't something that just happened overnight. It's been I had to really dig in deep, find out where the money was, find out what to do with the money, all of that. So Kevin and I worked really hand in hand since September. He went into the old system, was able to pull reports for me and stuff and data. And I will tell you that the stack is huge of everything that I've had to go through. What I have found is that $252.27 is money that we will be sending to the state treasurer for people who paid their money in, but that money did not go toward their taxes. We have their names, we have their address. The remaining $12,878.80, those were fees from people who made, like if they came in to make their payment, they were to set up a fee to do that, and it was a $20 setup fee, $5 per time that they made that payment. Those fees were due to the county. Those fees were never transferred out of that escrow into the allocated correct accounts at the time that that money was transferred to their real estate tax. So I'm going to need to move that $12,878.80 to the general fund. That general fund money goes into those two accounts. Those two accounts is for fees and interest, where that money goes to and should have gone to at that point in time when that money should have been transferred out of escrow into the into those accounts for the county. So that money's been sitting on the books. So I do want you guys to know that I'm going to have action on some of this stuff whenever we decide to put it on the books, but that's where that money's coming from. We did do research. I do have documentation to back that up. I made sure of that. And I also, like I said, I was in contact with the two people that I worked with, which was Marty and Kyle at Hay Rice on that particular project. Any questions on that?
Are these people that you've already attempted to refund their money and you can't find them, so you're sending it to the treasurer state?
So, no, we haven't even tried to attempt to find them because one of them is an apartment. And so I don't even know if, we could try to search them out. I'm not going to say we can't. I do have the names and address, but because they're on the books, I don't want the check to sit in my account that long. I want to be able to, so if I can write a check to them and they can come get it, then yes. But I don't want that to be sitting on the books. I want to get it done with and out and off my books. Does that make sense? Okay. The fourth one that I want to talk about, any questions on that?
So at some point, that's just going to come before us for approval.
Yeah, it's going to come. Yep. Okay, the fourth one is Catalyst. I did attach that with your packet as well. Now, because the end goal and the whole reason I'm coming for you, one is what? We're cleaning up the books. We're getting them straight, getting stuff off the books that needed to be coming off. The other thing is just to get everything kosher, look good. Financially, we're solid. The tax rolls are solid, all of that stuff. Catalyst is a county close to us, and I did put their county, Stevens County, so if you have it, you can look at it. Catalyst is currently being used by a close county, which is Stevens County. We have maneuvered in that software just to see if it's something that maybe our office would like. It would allow taxes only to be uploaded and on their website, on our website, and they would be able to pay their taxes 24/7, 365 days a year. They would be able to pay by cash, and if they were to pay by cash, they would go to a company that is with Catalyst. They have that on their webpage, and they would pay that company. It's kind of like Western Union, and they would have it on a debit card, and then they would pay Catalyst, and Catalyst would put it in our money. So they're able to pay cash. They're able to pay with Venmo. They're able to pay with PayPal. They're able to pay with e-check. They're able to pay with a debit card and a credit card. Currently, the system that we have that is running does not allow them to pay that way. They can only pay by like an e-check or a credit card. Now, when you pay your taxes, some of these taxes are thousands of dollars, so it could add up if you decide to pay with your credit card. With Catalyst, not only does it allow them to pay that, but if they have an outstanding debt with us, that is like maybe they're paying their 25 taxes, but they still owe 2023 somewhere, it automatically picks up that and puts it in the shopping cart, and they have to manually tell it they're not going to pay for that. So they have to remove it. So it picks up that past debt and it puts it in the cart. And if they don't want to pay it, then they have to remove it. Catalyst is a program that they can also look up people's taxes. I do have a recommendation from American Title. I called them. I wanted their input on that. I wanted to know if that was something that they would like to have. We have had complaints about our tax system that we have as far as looking it up and maneuvering within that. And here, I'm going to give you guys the recommendation that I got from them. Okay, I only have one copy, but I'll read it to you. It's from Charlie DeLay, and he says, American Title has an office in Haskell County, and the treasurer in Haskell County, Stevens County, and Morton County uses all of the same platform. This platform is extremely user-friendly and is more user-friendly than what you are currently using. Our office would be in favor of this switch. The other thing that it would allow us is not only would it allow them to be able to maneuver within the taxing, looking at people's taxes, seeing if they paid. It has better parcel CAMA information there. It's user friendly. It also would allow them to be able to see any changes that happen. So let's say they were selling a house, or somebody was selling a house, and they needed to know if they paid that. It updates at midnight. It's up to date with our system. There's not any integration problems. They haven't had any integration problems. Any questions so far?
This would be in addition to, not in place of our current system. Is that correct?
It would be in place of my current system that we use during tax time, which KCTA provides at no charge for us. It's a convenience fee that they have to pay if they make their payments. This would replace that. I did get a quote from CIC because there would be a upload conversion to do this. The quote was for $1,800.60, and that would be for the interface to do with CIC. CIC has customers currently on this, so they were quite aware of the interfacing. Catalyst does not charge us, the county, anything. It is a user fee, so the users pay for the product. So if you make if it's I believe it was $2.95 a transaction.
That's like a 2.5% or something.
2.5%, which is the same price that you're paying when you come in to pay with a credit card that the state of Kansas is getting to use your Pay It. We use Pay It with KDOR. Now, I will say this. I'm only wanting to use this for taxes. I want to see how it goes. I don't think we're going to have any issues. We have an issue right now. If somebody pays their taxes online, somebody comes in, let's say wife pays taxes online, e-check, husband comes in, makes the check payment. Those two do not talk when we have to do that. And so it is absolute horror to try to get that fixed. This system stores their payment. So let's say you paid your taxes, Todd, and then you decided to come in and you forgot that you paid them, and we took the payment. We can instantly refund you immediately. And the money is within our bank within, they're saying, 72 hours. The reports are easier to read. The convenience is already removed. And we're not seeing that now. It's hard for us to balance with what we have now because of the way the data comes over from the state. The state does not control how we take payments for taxes. They don't control that. What they do control is movers. They don't control how we take the payment. I'm currently still using Pay It for movers, which is the vehicles. This is only particularly for online payment for taxes. Now, Catalyst does offer the credit card it would change out pay it. The treasurer does have that option to change it out. I told Catalyst I wanted to see how we did with this, and then if it's something to move forward to, then that would be an option we would have within a year or two. But at first, the first year, I wanted to just see how it did online. I could not use Catalyst for movers for the vehicle side online because that is state handled. We do not necessarily have to accept credit card in our office for movers, but as a convenience and a courtesy, we do, and we use that pay it through KDOR, which they allow us to utilize. So if I decided to use Catalyst for the credit card machine in-house for Catalyst, I could use that for my vehicles and for taxes. So currently, we would be able to put, if they came in to pay their taxes, we would be able to use Catalyst for their taxes as well inside. But I am not wanting to do any of that. I want to leave the credit card machines that we have, use that with what we have in-house so far. I just want this to be able to be utilized on the web page 24/7, 365 days a year. I think that is a huge, a lot of constituents have stressed that they wish we had that option. And I hear their cries and I understand where they're coming from. And I would say, I agree with them. I wish we had that option. Because
Take debit cards in my office. Is it something that I can look into?
yeah.
Do a fishing game?
So so the thing with Catalyst is they provide you with the machine for free. It's up to date. It's the kind that you can take your phone out and your card and just tap it. They give you the up to date stuff. So they give you the mechanisms that you need for free. There's no charge for that. The only thing that they're going to charge is that convenience fee, and that convenience fee goes to the customer that's using it.
So, what about the outside departments that you swear and have to pay a fee annually to use it?
So they could still use Catalyst for a credit card machine, yes. So it's a payment processing. So that's where it's at. But the only thing I'm coming to you guys for is because I want to be able to use it to utilize my taxes.
I assume Stevens County had a higher compliance rate when
She-
they switched.
She said to me, she says, Mary, you're going to love it because it makes them pay like they have a lot of gas and a lot of royalty, right? She goes, and it makes those companies that need to pay that, it adds that other years to their cart. So they've seen a lot of that being paid for because maybe they didn't know about it because the statement went out and they're not in the paper and stuff. But she said that they've seen a lot of their debt that's on the books paid for because of that one feature that it allows it to do, which is to move it over to the cart. They can remove it if they don't want it in there. They cannot do a partial payment on their personal property. So if they said, well, I owe $500 and I'm going to pay $100 on my personal property, it does not allow them to do that. They have to pay it in full with interest and fees. It does allow them to make that partial payment on real estate, though, because that's what we would allow them to do in our office and by statute. Any questions on Catalyst?
So how long would it take to move everything over? Here under scope, it says if the system does not launch within 12 months of signature date due to merchant delays, the full implementation fee will be due. Otherwise, there is no cost for the implementation or service.
So there isn't any cost to us to do this. And I told him that I knew that legal would have to look over anything, but I did not know who to direct that to because I did not know who was handling that. But there is no cost. I did ask when I went in front of you guys on the 6th, I had that conversation with the salesperson at Catalyst. I said, I would really like to have this available for May 10th. And he said, oh, that's pushing it, Mary. So I kind of was like, okay, well, I'd like to clean up my books before I implement this credit card online stuff. Because now we only do it twice. We started the implementation in November to start taking payment November 1st, and we go until the last day of taxes. And then it's reopened again April 1st until the last day of taxes in May. Right now, the portal is closed because we're returning back to R&R, so they cannot make their tax payment online. But this would be something that's up 24/7. So the update would be there every day. So I would want to clean up my records before I send that interface to them. Does that make sense? I think that would only be.
So this could start in the fall tax season.
Yeah, I would like to have this start like June, July. The sooner the better. I feel like it would allow us collection more so in-house as opposed to having to use a collection company for our personal property. That's what I'm trying to get away from. I'm trying to get away from the collection part. Not that they're they're a bad company. They are a good company. They've done well. I work well with them. But I feel like implementing something like this allows us to give them that option if they're going to pay online. Because one, if you owe personal property in the state of Kansas and you're delinquent, we put a stop on your vehicle through the state of Kansas. It's not just countywide. So you cannot tag your vehicle until you pay your property taxes. So if they're in Wichita and they're calling us and they're saying, hey, I owe property taxes and I can't get my tag, we have to ask that clerk to take payment for us and send it to us because we don't take payment over the phone. And if they need to tag their vehicle immediately, they need to get that certified mail to us. So usually what happens is we have the treasurer get on the phone and say, I have a certified check in hand. I'm mailing it to you today, and the stop is removed. So it's just one more little bit of trying to get our collection for our property tax, especially our personal property. Okay.
What do you need from us to implement this? Or are we certain?
Well, I know I need to know who to send the contract to and for them to look over it. They did say that there is no implement charge. There's no charge for early cancellation, which they said we doubt you're going to have a cancellation. The problem is I did tell them due to government, we only do 1-year contracts. And they said, unfortunately, this is a 5-year contract, but it's not a contract that if you say, I don't want to use you anymore, we're going to stick it to you. They said that we don't charge you to implement it. We don't charge you to do anything. The $1,800 that CIC would charge me for the interface, I do have in my technology fund. I am able to use that. I have $27,000 in that fund right now. So I am able to absorb that $1,800 for that interface for my office. And is it something that we could open up to other departments? That's very plausible because it is a interface through like the cloud. They have it's not housed with us. So it's something, we could look at seeing as, county as a whole to go to Catalyst. I personally just want to use it for online just to see how it is, but they do offer the credit card machine. They also offer on the credit card machine to run the check, and it takes it out electronically automatically, like a credit card. So that is an option if we decided to go to that. But at this point in time, this is the only thing that I'm looking for is just for my taxes to be able to accept it 24/7, 365 on a web page, which they do create for us. So I do encourage you to go to Stevens County Taxes, take a look at that web page. You would see what we're looking at and how user friendly it was. Okay. So the last two things we have is the banking and checking account. So you have anything else on Catalyst? Okay. I just need direction. You guys can holler at me, whatever. Tell me to give it, this is just a work session so we can kind of get everything out. Okay. So the next thing is the banking and checking. So, County Treasurer, I sent out a letter, 150-mile radius, to see what accounts the county had out there under the EIN number. I did get documentation back. I asked for a department. I know that bank, the account number, and who's on that account to sign. And I will give you guys that documentation that I received.
Thank you so much.
Let me go over it and I'll give it to you. Okay. The only one that I am a little disgruntled about is Sunflower Bank. They have confirmed that we do have checking accounts there. They are refusing to give me the data. And I have sent them documentation for that. So I do want you guys to be aware of that. I had talked to their home office last week and requested for their supervisor to call because they did have the appropriate documentation to see what was there. I do know for a fact we do have a checking account there. They have confirmed that, but how many, if it's a checking or savings account number, signatures, all that, I cannot confirm. The other ones we have at Equity Bank, Bank of Beaver, and Community Bank. You'll see the account number, the department number, or the department name, or what they call that, and then who is the authorized signatures on those. And then the ones that I knew about prior to this audit has a check mark. The ones that I did not know about is blank. So I think I would say that this audit is very great. I would say it was a good run. It brought everything, I think, to light. Let us know what we had in there in the county. I only used our EIN number to try to find those accounts. And I will say that I went clear to, I even went into Oklahoma, Texas, just like over 150-mile radius of all banks, just to see if we had any sitting out there that we didn't know about. Any questions?
So, the county attorney, like the diversion fund, that's within the general fund. It's within the county's main account.
Okay. It's through number 8. Most of the county business is done with number 8.
So, like in the treasurer, you have like a motor vehicle
No,
account.
it's a fund, not a checking account.
It's in a fund within the. Okay.
So most of the business that the county does goes through number 8 checking account. That's payroll, that's payables, that's money received in from the states, even some of the organizations that get money from the state comes in through number 8 and maybe goes to their fund, to their department. So our business is spread out countywide. I will say that. We are not in just one bank. Okay.
That if somebody sets up an account, they don't just go set it up. They are supposed to come to the board, get permission, and also to know how much they can have in it. And so I don't know, I don't feel like anybody should be able to be setting up an account anywhere without board approval. And so I don't know if that needs to be in our policy, or at least the treasurer knows.
That's kind of my position, that not only the commission should know about it, but the commission, and it may be after the fact. Because, like, just for instance, so what fund is the I rent the activity center and I put a deposit.
They come to all of that money goes into number 8 checking, but it goes to their department and their fund. What's in our accounting system?
So it's not our check,
No, their money comes into the county checking account, but it is allocated to that fund.
I understand it, but what account is like, if I refunded it,
It comes back out of that checking account, back out of that fund for that department.
what account is the check written out of?
But that check reverts back to that department fund.
But what checking account is the check written out of?
The checking account for the county designated to that fund. So you're going to write the check, but on the bottom, it's going to have an account number and it's going to be debit or credit to what account. So whenever you look at your end of the month and it shows you where those departments are at, that's where all of their checks coming in and their income coming out, all of that's coming in and out through our checking account, but it's going back and forth through those department funds.
So
the activity center deposits or whatever through a check from your office, not through a voucher from my office. So that's what he's wanting to
Yeah,
do.
but
where's
it's the same checking account. The treasurer's checks are from the same number 8 checking account. They just say treasurer's check. They're the same account number.
but the commission never approves those. They never know about those checks.
No. I've asked if you would like to have a check register, and you've never come back and said yes or no. And I said,
I don't recall that.
if you do want what I'm
Always, excuse me, let me finish my statement. I've always inquired, because I got a refund from your office a year or two ago based on some property taxes on a property I purchased from the airport or from the city. But so that's the same account, checking account number. But those checks, we as a commission never see those checks, nor do we authorize the payment of those checks.
because part of that is their taxes.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm just asking, why would tax refunds come before the commission if they're being generated
They-
from the
That
tax
was
revenue?
just an example of my
Okay,
part.
so any check going through the,
Yeah, because
But here's the thing.
The activity center gets a refund, or I don't know. You don't know.
Okay, so
do
just
we have
so,
any dollar caps above which it does come to the commission?
okay, just so I want to explain to you how
Yeah.
the check system works in the treasurer's office, since that's under asking. Okay, so when we process those AAEs in my office, we by statute are to send them a check, right? You see how much the totals are going to be. Those are processed in my office because those are checks. I don't come in front of you to tell you how much the distribution is going to be and for you to authorize those checks.
And those are approved in your consent agenda. The AAEs are debates, games, and add-ons, so they are in consent.
So
So they do it.
the refunds for the treasurer's checks are property taxes for real estate, personal property. The other thing that they're also treasurer's checks for is motor vehicle property tax. Those are done daily. So every time anybody comes in and decides that they're going to get rid of their vehicle, or they traded it in, or they wrecked it, they're going to get that property tax. We issue those checks to them 4 o'clock that same day. Okay, so the stuff that comes out of my office is the refund for the event center. And if you choose to do that policy and practice differently, then let me know, because it's been like that since I've been here for 14 years. The taxes coming out of my office refunds, which is motor vehicle and real estate. And the other thing that comes out of my office on treasurer's checks is the distribution checks. I do not bring those in front of the commission because that is part of my statute to do for my elected official. So those don't come in front of you. The other thing that does come out of there as well is my treasurer's fund, which is 510. Now, if you would like, I could print off a register, which would have the check number, who it was to, and the amount for transparency every 2 weeks. And I want you to be aware that that is a huge report. But I'm willing to do that and put that in the red book or whatever.
And those are not in the reports we're getting from your office, Stacia. Is that correct?
The AAEs are.
Right. No, I see I do look at those.
But Mary, do you ever pay vendors out of that account? Do you ever pay a vendor? Because it seems to me like there's been vendors paid.
If it's through the 510, which is the treasurer's. So if it is anything to do with motor vehicle, then it gets paid out of the treasurer's fund. Anything that is not motor vehicle goes through the clerk's office. That is paid through there. That is the common practice. The only thing that I have not ever heard was the ambulance refund. We do and I say ambulance, like the ambulance refund and the event center. So if somebody overpaid on their ambulance, we write them a check out of that. So so we do have two. We have the event center and ambulance refund. So those are the only two that I have not heard. It's just always been policies and procedures for the office to do that. I don't know why. That might be something that we'd have to discuss with those departments. I don't know why. It's always been like that for the beginning of time. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but we've always done it. I have heard how other treasurers handle everything, which is how we do it. And by law, we are required to issue that check for that motor vehicle that day, at the end of closing of that day. So I do know for a fact that is what KDOR requires us to do. But the other two, I do not know.
When we set up the vendor, we have to have a W-9 form. Do you collect W-9 forms on the vendors that you pay out of that account?
So the vendor that we would pay would be like Southern Office is pretty much a Southern Office. But yeah. Well, I mean, if it's not set up in your office, then we can't issue it anyways. Yeah.
Do you want that report, Steve?
Well, I mean, it's coming out of our main account. I don't know. What signatures on the checks that you write in your office?
So because it's the main account, it would be myself, Stacia, you, April, Brock, Juan, Hillary, Vanessa, Annabelle, Cassie.
That we've approved them, and yet we've not approved them.
Steve, you're not going to be able to approve the tax checks. You're going to be able to see them after the fact.
Right. I understand we're going to have to see some of them will be after the fact.
But the only vendor besides that is Southern Office.
And that, what I'm saying is if it's something that has to do with motor vehicle, the treasurer has a treasurer's fund, and that money comes directly from the treasurer to pay that. So for like, we would do envelopes because we do vehicles. Let me think. We don't do like, we do wages out of there, which is through payroll. There's stipulations to what could be used, and we've always just used it for payroll and for supplies. And then travel, if I have to travel to Topeka or whatever, I use it for that. Well, the hotel and everything else we pay through motor vehicle. Right.
That's where you might want to go ahead and have a check and balance with the commissioners.
Yeah. If we have a thing, anytime that we get, if they stay over for something, it'll come after motor vehicle if they're staying for motor vehicle because I'm shorthanded on the front line. So, I might buy them lunch. That'll come out of there because they're staying because I'm shorthanded on the front line for them to go for customer service. Pretty much anything that comes on our motor vehicle has to be designated for motor vehicle. It can't go to anything else. And, that's pretty strict on that part. So, yes. So it does get audited extensively. Yes. Yeah. And so we keep all receipts, everything together. We have explanations, everything. They go over it. I'm a very detailed person. So sometimes it's over detailed. So if, they get the receipts, they get what it was for, they get who went there, whatever it was. It's very, very detailed. And we have that every year, and we give them the report, and they go through everything. We've never had any uncompliance. We've always been in compliance with it. I've never had any bad reviews or anything for that motor vehicle fund. I will say that whatever's used out of that motor vehicle fund, it does get transferred over to the general fund, and I usually do that transfer December 31st. This year I did transfer over $80,000 over to the general fund, so there was money there to do that. So whatever's not used, the county treasurer does transfer that over to the general fund. It is... last year was a little different because the budget was short. I only had $179,000 for payroll expenses for 2024. So of course, budget was we didn't have enough allocated for the county treasurer's, personnel expenses. So a lot of that was just held out until, at the very end, and then went to the personnel expenses because of that. And so in order for a person to be paid out of that for motor vehicle, they have to work in motor vehicle. So we try to split it up between percentages of payroll and how much comes out of general, how much comes out of motor vehicle fund. And then at the end of the year, I just transfer it over usually to payroll to offset that difference there. Okay, the final thing is almost at 4:30. So there was discussion about how we handle return checks. And we implemented, I think in 2023, to go, this is how we've always handled it. We had an attorney who handled it that was local. They retired. We moved it to, if it was under $100, we moved it to CBK. If it was out of state, it went to CBK. And if it was over 500 or something that we could handle that was in town, then the sheriff and the county attorney would handle that. We have had the last month, and I don't know why, but we've had a very high return rate on checks. I think some of that has to do with the fact of landfill getting back into the groove of things, and we have some checks that was really offset, but the writer has been, we've had some pretty good turnout though. I know that everybody can get into a financial situation, and sometimes life gets away from us. And so we do have some checks that comes back insufficient. Our office works very closely with those insufficient check writers. It could be that, grandma wrote her check and it was closed out. That checking account was closed out and she didn't know it, and she wrote her for her taxes, and, her daughter takes care of her account. So I try to do that case by case. I mean, I like to have some empathy and some compassion, right? Because sometimes life just happens. And an instant like that, I'm not going to charge you a check fee if the daughter calls and says, I'm coming right down. Mom wrote the check on the wrong account, right? They came down quite fast, like the next day. There's some times where we've tried to reach out to the person. We've tried to do payment arrangements. We've tried to do a collection. We've had no avail at anything, anybody responding to us, or they said, yeah, I'm coming right down, and we wait for them and they don't show up. Or, they say, look, my check was short. I'll be down next week. okay, we'll wait for next week. And so we normally kind of give them 30 days, right? Because we get it come back. By the time we know that's a week. By the time we try to send them notification, we always do everything exactly how it is, even though we have conversation in the middle. We let them know we have the check. That's the first step. The second step is we're going to send you a certified letter telling you what's going to happen. Look, if you don't pay your check by this amount of time, we're going to send it over, and these are the fees that you've incurred. So that's step 2. Step 3 is that they've received their check, their return check copy, and they're not willing to do anything. We then send it to the appropriate collection. If it's a tag, we've implemented. If it's over $500, I will call the sheriff to go pick that tag up, and so they will normally come in hastily to fix that. So we've implemented some stuff in there, and we have on the books 4 return checks, which is pretty good. And I'm going to give you those. Annabelle sent me that over this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, so what happens is these stay on the books until we receive them, right? So they go to a fund of $580, and then once you receive them, we offset it and we charge them $36. If there's other fees that's incurred, we also get those fees back. We haven't. We've had a high return rate, but they've been really good, where they've always come in and, they pay. And whenever they do have a return check, we only accept cashier's check or cash. We don't accept credit card. We don't accept a check for a check. And so, we're getting ready to get into tax season, and we usually see an influx with that. Kind of goes up a little bit with the return checks. But I wanted to get your guys' input, and, whenever we do return checks, we're doing it for the health department. We're doing it for CBCC, which they do cashier's checks anyway, so we really don't even have that issue. We do it for anybody in the county that brings their deposit into our office, and we process those, and it all just goes to the return check fee. And we notify them, like if it was landfill, we'd notify them and say, such and such had a return check. They'll offset their account to fix that on their books, and then we will let them know when we've collected that. We work side by side with that department head to get their financials back in order. But like I said, we really haven't had any issues, but I wanted the commission's input on that because there's been a lot of talk about maybe we weren't handling that correctly in the county. Maybe we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. Any input would be great to try to make everything better and flow better. I thought it was a pretty good scenario. We had a pretty good thing going. I thought we've got control over it. The departments have got control over it. We work well together, as with other departments. And Annabelle, the deputy, she handles all of the in-house banking. So she is the person that handles the return checks. We do, once you write a return check, and it comes back insufficient, we do put you on the no check list, which goes countywide, and so you're not allowed to write checks. You're also flagged in our system, which is the KDOR mover system, where you can't write checks for the state of Kansas to get your tags. So that does happen. With CIC, we're also able to flag you in our tax system, which allows you not being able to write a check for your taxes. So, we'd kind of put a stop to that, trying to move forward. Any input on that? So we're doing a great job with that.
Sounds like.
Yeah. Sounds like you got a procedure.
So what?
A debit card to pay for the check, because that's
because it's hard to know that that person is the actual person who wrote the check, or that they are the debitor, or that we're actually going to get that, because we've had people who have taken other people's cards, and this is a office practice. We have had this issue, and this is why we do not take credit cards over the phone, and we don't take credit cards for this particular reason, where they have paid with a credit card or a debit card and it was not their debt, and we had to go to court to fight that because they paid for somebody's card. The other thing is they'll come back and say, I didn't make that payment, and they stop that card as a fraudulent charge. They pull that from us. So if you're not in-house to sign, we do not allow you to pay with credit card unless you're in-house, and we don't do it for return checks. Because, 90% of the people that write checks are from Seward County, so they can come in. If we have a check that is out of state, it's normally a landfill check because of the amount. And so with that, we just send that over to CBK, where they can do, if they have to, they can do garnishment. They can go after them and attach that to them. So CBK, that collection company, they do a really good job working with us on those return checks. So, yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that, because on the back, it kind of looks like you just putting your name and then it pops up everybody with that.
When you get to the payment screen, when we went through the training with that, the payment screen's pretty intense.
Okay.
And so any cards that they have that is under litigation or something, they handle that.
So it'd be difficult to pay somebody else's debt by mistake on there? Because
you would just have to have your same credit card. Like the credit card would have to be that person using it.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
So you can come into the office and let's say you want to pay for your parents' tags. You can do that legally, but we can't give you any information. You can come in and say, just like anybody that wants to pay somebody's water bill for a gift, you can go in and say, I want to pay this address, for property taxes. Taxes are totally different. Taxes is anybody can look anything up, and that's like any information with taxes can be given pretty much. The only time you can't give out information is if they've protested it. But if you come in and ask, did they pay taxes? Who was the person that paid it? How much did they pay? We can tell you on taxes. On motor vehicle, you can come in and say, I want to pay this, maybe because you have the VIN number, but we can't give you any information to that, but you can pay and renew that vehicle, which is really, I never understood this, because as soon as you get that registration renewal, you have all their information there anyways. So I never got that, but that's part of the law. But you can come in and pay anybody's taxes. You can pay anybody's vehicle, but you can't get any information on their vehicle.
Okay, so the 4 return checks for 2860, that's all the return checks on the book, or that just the ones that came in recently?
No, those are the ones that are on the books, that we have on the books.
I thought and I've not looked at it, the monthly or quarterly statement, it's published in the paper that lists all the account balances.
So the Fund 580 is a revolving account. It's always going to be high and low, right? Because it's always in and out.
The 11 or 12,000 or 13, whatever it was, the next report will reflect something like 2,800 or something.
Well, we had a $8,000 check that was insufficient. And so an $8,000 check that was insufficient. And so that was turned over to the sheriff.
And how old is that?
Well, that's not very old. If it's over 30 days, then it gets turned over. Okay. So if we've already collected on it, which I think we already have, it's going to reflect back on that. That's why she's got the 2,400 in there.
I just don't want to get in a situation like with property taxes, personal property taxes, that we're carrying old checks from 20 years ago.
And this is,
there's no
This is why I brought this up, because I feel like we keep having the same conversation. It's a revolving account. We're on top of the return checks. We do what we have to do to get the money that we have to get back to the county. So if we owe it, if they owe us, we go after them to get it from them. So it's not something that we're going to sit here and say, Mary, you came in front of me and you said this, and now you're saying this. Well, the Fund 580, which is the revolving account for this, the bad check, is a revolving account. It's going to go have ins and outs. So if it was on the fund status report when we published it for quarterly at $12,000, and now we show that we have $2,800, when we publish it again, it could show it was $6 because we had another check come in that's going against that. The only way to be completely transparent is to show you a GL of all the ins and outs to show you why it's revolving. So anything that comes in and out goes through that account. It's never going to be zero.
I understand it's never going to be zero, but it was, this question was asked a couple of years ago on that fund, and I just don't want to get in a situation again where we're carrying checks from 20 years ago. Not your fault, but,
So we're not carrying checks from 20 years ago.
Okay.
If we stay on top of it. If it comes in, we try to collect it. If it doesn't go collect, it goes to collections. Collections then goes after them. If it's something that the sheriff can handle, then we send it over to the sheriff. And let me tell you, the sheriff has been quite successful at any of the checks that we have sent over there. It's almost like they just have to make that one phone call and they're right in the office. And so we do have that where it's a good workable thing with Russell and Jean. They've been very kind and very good with us working with the treasurer's office on the county return checks.
Okay. Anybody got your list done, right?
I'm done. I am done.
Mary,
Okay.
will you just be getting with me when you want the different items put on the agenda for them to take action?
Yeah. You guys need to give me some feedback, what you want me to bring back to you so we can get some items on the agenda. I need your feedback so I can work around it, because I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be gone. I'm not going to be gone, but I'm not going to be during the day for the next week. So who do I need to submit that contract to?
Well, April's the county administrator, so.
We need to have somebody make a resolution to get.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are you going to prepare the resolution, or do you want administration to prepare the resolution?
I gave you guys 2 examples. I think you should probably direct administration how you want that resolution to read. That way you can make sure it's complete. Any data that they might need to complete that resolution, I'm happy to give them. But you have those examples there as to what that resolution's kind of some examples of the direction needing to go.
I would say write it, then we submit them to Forrest, because apparently what happened 10, 11 years ago wasn't correct.
So moving forward.
Next 10 years, somebody say it wasn't right.
Yeah. So I think note, anytime we do anything like this, we need to do a resolution.
So submit them to April, and she can get them to Forrest to just make sure. And I guess the CIC is going to be our legal counsel also, that submit it to them to make sure the wording is correct.
Okay.
So, yeah, right now we're still using Forest Roads as our legal counsel.
And I wasn't sure on that. I wasn't sure where he stops, what he was hired to do.
We didn't get any applications, and we haven't had anybody come forward that they're willing to do it, so we've stayed with Holston Siepken at the time.
Okay, so you want me to, I'll give April copies of the resolutions that we have, and then the contract for Catalyst for Forest Roads to go over, and make sure CIC is good with the resolution prior to approval. What is it that you want that resolution to include? What exactly? You want it definitely for the 2015 that was approved?
I think it needs to be 2 separate, in my opinion, 2 separate resolutions.
So we know what we need that one for 2015.
One from 83 to 93, and one from 93 or 94 to 2005 or 6.
You don't feel one resolution writing that could say anything prior to 2006 would cover everything? Or do you feel like we need two separate? Did CIC say if they wanted one or two? Or
What I was told by the programmer and another person was that if the resolution had a mass write-off, they would just do it for us, because I griped enough about the whole R&R thing. And so that was kind of like, I guess, the trade-off for the help. So what I understood was if we did one, but I'm kind of with Steve on this. I feel like we need to do one just for 2015 and then one to write it, because we're picking up from where it was already approved in 2015. And I feel like that resolution needs to state that was supposed to be done and did not happen in the conversion. And then the new resolution, anything that is from that to that, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I agree with Steve on that part.
So 1983 to 1993.
It was 1984 to 1993 for 2015. I'll give her that. Yeah, I only have one. I'll get you a copy, April. 1984 to 1993 was what was in 2015.
Okay.
And then 1994 to 2006. And that's if they, so be it. They're probably you're going to have to make a resolution, approve it, make a motion, and all of that on there. And I think we need to definitely in that resolution state in there that the deceased debt as well for those years. And then are you guys good with the whole escrow thing? I'll bring that to you to do that $12,000. Any issues on that? Well, it is, but I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to take over a certain amount of money and just add it to the general fund. I feel like I need to let you guys know how we got where we're at, because I'm also going to have to describe this and explain this during audit. Okay. So I would prefer not to be on this agenda with it. We'll just do it for May. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Good.
We're good. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
So Mary, just so I'm clear, on the May 4th meeting, we'll have the resolutions, and then you'll get me the information for the escrow account. Are you going to put that on the agenda yourself?
Yeah, I'll get you all that tonight and email that all to you tonight, and then we can try to do it maybe in the May.
Right. The first meeting in May?
Yeah.
And then you'll bring the catalyst agreement.
I'm going to email that to you, and that way you can forward it to Rhodes. I mean, it's PDF, so he could just go over it, and then we could add all of that to the 4th. They can just take action. Is that okay with you guys? All right.
We don't have to do anything with these bank accounts that you didn't know?
No, that is for your information. We did that audit so that way everything would be transparent and open. And I felt like not only should the county treasurer know, but county commissioners absolutely should know. You should know where the money is at for the constituents and for the taxpayers. So we just did that quick audit. Well, it wasn't a quick audit, but we did that audit just so we could get transparency and openness up. The only one that I did, like I said, I'm a little tipped about is the whole one with sunflower. So we might need to work together and try to figure that one out. Yes, absolutely. This sheet will be given every year to the auditors when they come to my office and ask for checking accounts. This will be what was given because I was given this from the banks with those authorized signers. So this will be given to the auditor every year.
Thank you.
We will adjourn.